people who are here for roll call. Approval of the agenda. Anyone want to make any motions to approve the agenda or amend it in any way? Who wants to make a motion to approve it? Thank you, Janet. Second by Kamal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying yes or raise your hand. Thank you. Now Tina's left the agenda. Next is approval of minutes. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you, Juan. Is there a second for that?
I second it.
Thank you, Kamal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes indicate by raising your hand or saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Public comments. Tina, do we have any written comments for us?
Yes, there was one written comment that was uploaded to the web from Jackie Lane after last meeting. There it is right there.
Great. Okay. Very good. Any oral comments from the public today?
We have two callers. If one of the callers would like to speak, please press *3 on your phone. I see no hands raised.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're on to presentation of the redistricting master. Paul Newman, have at it, buddy.
All right. Would you let me share my screen?
And Paul, just as a reminder, Juan's on kind of a tight time frame, so we kind of want to move through this.
Right. All right. Can everyone see my screen with the map?
Yep.
Okay, we have several things to go through today. We'll start off with the easy things, kind of maybe this housekeeping. Regarding, so this map should look very much like the web map that I've shared with you. First item is just this portion of a precinct that I think Janet mentioned last time. All the is basically this larger precinct is up here in Ridgefield, and it kind of dips down, and it just kind of looks odd. And all the alternatives have this characteristic to them. In discussion with Greg and the elections office, we're going to, or this portion will be, this portion in kind of the mustard yellow color here, will be moved into this area, so that this odd looking area really doesn't exist, or the shape isn't there anymore. So with your permission, I mean, you have, the committee owns these, the three alternatives. With your permission, I'd like to update the three alternatives so that this area is more in the Salmon Creek area.
So just a little more on that. The elections office, in researching that, could find no logical reason why that little nubbin sticks down there. And also, there's nobody that lives in that portion. So just for information, but is there anyone who objects to kind of cleaning that up in all three of these, all the maps that we're looking at so far at this point? I'm not seeing any objections, Paul, so I'm going to assume that people are okay with that.
All right, very good. Thank you. Moving on, kind of a similar topic. You'll recall, let me get this set up. Yeah, kind of a similar topic. I think it was mentioned, we're looking at the green boundaries are the initial 5 districts. And I I think it was pointed out, about all the jaggy lines down here on the southern end of Vancouver Lake. It's just kind of a cosmetic thing. I've created all three alternatives to, well, let me back up one half step. So this area that we're talking about is Precinct 112. And I think there are about 180 people that live in this area. And what I've done is incorporated this area into District 1. So basically what on the initial 5, this area, which actually included just a small portion of the Fruit Valley area, was kind of incorporated with this area up in Hazeldale. And I've drawn all the alternatives to include this area within District 1. And I guess I'm afraid I just took the initiative on doing that, and didn't really ask the permission of the county or the committee to do that. So I think I need to just ask that if that's okay and move forward.
Paul, I'm not quite following what you just tried to explain there. Could you say that again, maybe?
Sure. So again, this is the initial 5 districts, and this version of the districts follow the southern edge of Vancouver Lake. Here in this.
This is the one that was voters approved in the recent election.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the southern boundary of Precinct 112, which is now in blue. I think there was comments made at an earlier meeting about the kind of why is this so jaggy down here? It's really just the shoreline of Vancouver Lake. So to clean that up, I drew all the alternatives to include Precinct 112 in with the I think that's District 1. So that
so you basically added Precinct 112 to District 1 and took it out of District 2.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone object to that?
Again, that was about 180 people.
Yeah, 180. I'm not seeing anyone objecting to that, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as mentioned, all the alternatives are drawn with that in mind.
It does look a lot cleaner now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that the lines down there on the southern end of Vancouver Lake, that often gets a lot of questions, but it's just the shoreline area and the city boundary. All right. Item number 3. I'd like to. This is a topic that's going to be for your awareness, and it's concerning demographics. So first, I'd like to ask the committee if they feel it's appropriate to review some population maps, some demographic maps of the county. Now, the RCW mentions that population data will not be used for purposes of favoring or disfavoring any racial group or political party. So that's from the RCW. On the other hand, there have been some lawsuits at the county level in the state of Washington and Yakima and Franklin County regarding district mapping and Hispanic demographics. So with that in mind, I guess I'd like to first ask the committee if you feel it's appropriate for me to present some demographic information regarding the Hispanic population in Clark County.
Does anyone object to seeing that information? I think, Paul, you have the ability to show us information you think is appropriate. So
Yeah.
as the redistricting master.
Right. Any other comments on that before I start?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right. Turn on a few items, clean some things up. All right, so what we're looking at is from the 2020 census, and what's mapped in green are the percentages of the Hispanic population by block group. Block groups are kind of similar to precincts, I mean, in terms of size, but there's still some variety. So basically, the darker the green, the higher the percentage of the Hispanic population. Can people see the numbers down here in the legend?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the highest percentage is about 54%.
Yeah.
And first of all, I want to point out back to this Vancouver Lake area. This is kind of a, well, I wouldn't call it a thorn in our side, but it you know, it grabs your attention, right? Because it's so big and it's you know, this shows actually it does have the highest level of Hispanic population of the county, but there really aren't that many people out here. So I think there are around 850. It includes mostly a portion of the Fruit Valley area. But it's kind of frustrating because it just really stands out. So it's a large landmass, but and certainly a high percentage of Hispanic population, but the total population is about 850. Whereas some of these other smaller block groups, such as along Fourth Plain, have a much higher population. So,
But it's not beyond 55%, right? Is that
along,
what you're saying? Yeah, because
Well-
those are dark green, right? So that would be 24.
yeah, these are within the dark green along Fourth Plain and some along Mill Plain. Those are, the range here is between 24% and 54%. If I pull this up, there's probably too much here. There's a lot of information here. Yeah, the one up by Vancouver Lake is 54%. Along Fourth Plain, 26%. %, 28%. So still within that range, but yeah, kind of between certainly higher than 25%.
There's nothing strictly Hispanic, basically.
I'm sorry?
There wouldn't be anything strictly just Hispanic within those neighborhoods.
As in 100%, 90 to 100%?
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. So, as mentioned, for your awareness, there are these concentrations of, I guess relative concentrations of Hispanic population in these areas. And as we look at the alternatives, I'll just, I guess, loop through the various alternatives. There's A, B, C. There are various groupings of these. Here's the initial. But looking at this, so I also want to share something that's from a different angle on this. I mean, the mapping is real. It's interesting. You see the concentrations. But what about kind of when we look at this as a whole district? Comes the charts. So what I've done here, try to walk you through this. The various colors are the alternatives. So let's look at district, and then we have district 1, or the districts across the bottom. And we're charting the percentage of Hispanic population by district, by alternative. Try to make this a little bigger. So let's just look at District 1. And across what I'm calling the initial 5 districts and then the 3 alternatives. As the boundaries change, there's not a lot of change in the percentage of the Hispanic population. District 2 is the alternative. As you loop or go through the alternatives, there's kind of a gain. District 3 is kind of up and down. 4 up and down. 5 not a lot of variation. And you look over here on the left, the percentage. You know, it's 14, 16, 18. So I guess I'll just share my initial reaction to this, or just is that looking at the maps, I see certainly concentrations, and I see that I think a principle of the Voting Rights Act, and Greg helped me to make sure is to not dilute votes of a particular group.
Well, I think so. Yeah, one thing Paul kind of alluded to this, but in part, Paul's comments or analysis is driven by the recently enacted Voting Rights Act in the state of Washington, which was in large part put into law as a result of what happened in the city of Yakima, which has a large percentage of Hispanic voters, but their elections were at large, and so there was I don't know if it was difficult for an Hispanic candidate to get elected in the city of Yakima because of the at-large voting system. And so I think, I'm not an expert in this, so chip in, but there's 2 ways you can put the minority populations at a disadvantage. You can do, as Paul mentioned, dilute them across the districts. So you can say if there's let's say District 1 is looking at the map there, District 1, let's say it has 80% Hispanic population. Well, you can take that 80% population, let's call it 150,000 people, and you can spread them out among all 5 districts. You can run little lines down into them and grab and put 20,000 people in District 4 and 20,000 people in District 5, and that way you can dilute them. The other way you can do that is to I guess let's say the county is let me think, if there's a huge number of, so you can either spread them among a whole bunch of districts. They're a minority in each district. I guess that's the big way. That's the big way or you do at large elections. You don't have districts at all. So
yeah,
that's kind of the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
Just to make it known, they think that, that conflicts with the charter we were given, right? We were supposed to not take demographics into account.
Well, that's what Paul started off with this comment that, so the state law talking about redistricting says not disfavor any population groups, but the Voting Rights Act gives people the right to sue jurisdictions if they believe minority groups are disfavored by the elections process. And
because then Paul's previous charts, I could see in one district Hispanic went down, but in another district it went up.
Yeah, my own sort of conclusion of this is there's there's no because there's such a relatively small Hispanic population to begin with, and because
12%. Yeah.
was it 12%?
Countywide, the Hispanic population is 12% of the county.
And so as a result, because most of that 12% is in District 1, it seems like a
It's
fair
a wash on the other side.
fair allocation of Hispanics into that District 1. That's my takeaway. I don't know. Other thoughts from folks?
It would be impossible for us to draw a majority Hispanic district.
Yeah, that was. Thank you, Morgan. Yeah,
It is.
not impossible, but be a really weird looking map.
It would,
Or actually, it would
Right.
be impossible. You'd have to get. There's not 12% of the population. That's only 80,000 people. So you need 120,000. I guess if you could get those 80,000 into one district, you could get a majority of the district. So it's
right.
I mean, literally, you would have to have islands, like let's say in District
Yeah.
3 that are District 1.
you
Yeah.
can't have.
And-
It wouldn't be an
Yeah,
island.
you can't have islands.
You can't, but you
Right.
could have, if you've seen some of the legislative districts back east where they have these, they look like an octopus, they're up here and then back. And
Right.
so, at any rate, so
Okay.
I appreciate Paul's analysis of this, but from my own perspective, I don't think this is something we should be, we're really able to address in our work.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the RCW. Yeah. There's criteria of being compact and contiguous. So yes. Yeah. Well, as mentioned, I just felt a responsibility to bring this up for awareness and go from there.
Yep. Good job, Paul. Thank you.
All right. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I didn't hear too much feedback regarding the web maps that were updated over the weekend with the various alternatives. Did everyone have a chance to look through those?
Yeah.
All right.
I did. Also, I think we should all just thank you, Paul, for working over the weekend and
Absolutely. Yes.
putting these really nice looking maps together. It was
Yes.
they're great. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. I think what I'd like to do is step through the alternatives and maybe talk about what the thought was, or if there's and Kamal, your alternative is alternative A, but if you'd like me to step through mine and kind of give a briefing on mine first,
Sure.
that's fine as well. Do you have a preference?
Hey, Paul, I'd ask you to always show the initial 5 districts when you're showing
Sure.
these new plans.
Can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Okay. All right. So here's the initial 5. So I'll talk about alternative B and C. Alternative B is pretty straightforward in that I was aiming for minimal change of the boundaries. Again, trying to rebalance or bring the population into balance, but not, trying to keep the initial, or try to help it look the same as much as possible as the initial 5 districts. In fact, perhaps the biggest change is what I already talked about, was this area around Vancouver Lake. Otherwise, just a few tweaks, as you see, between the blue and the green. Any questions on that? All right. Alternative C, I guess
Well, maybe,
The,
Paul, maybe we should let Kamal talk about alternative A before you talk about C.
Sure.
Yeah.
sure, okay,
Let's do that.
all right.
There you go. So my thinking here, first of all, was to completely balance out the population in each of the districts, or at least to get close to that. I moved some of the precincts that were in District 4 back to District 3. So that way we could keep us Vancouver together, keep those neighborhoods together. And then basically I showed District 5 a little bit of love, gave them 2 of the precincts at the top of 2. And then I think I gave a little bit from 3 to 5, so we could bring the population target a little higher. But if you notice, and you look at all of the population targets, they're a lot more closer than the alternatives. So that's kind of was my thinking here, to get as close as possible. I know maybe 651 is a bit high. In District 3 is maybe a bit low, but District 5 is more rural, while District 3 is a little bit more compact. So I was thinking that wasn't bad to leave those figures the way they are. So.
We also talked about maybe moving another district from 3 up to 5, and that would bring down the target to.
It would.
I think it was like 120 above
Exactly,
and 120 below
Right.
for the other. So in that scenario, we'd be probably about the closest to being the most.
That'll be the closest that you could probably be. Yeah.
Right.
I do have a comment, I think, on this one and C, which is it looks like both tried to follow the line to the Vancouver City boundary line, and it looks like it just missed a little down by the river. The only reason I know that is because this is where I live, which is I think what is it, precinct 725 is mine, and then precinct let's see, and it's a weird one because we're Camas School District but City of Vancouver for so it's it's I don't know, 192nd and 34th is the area, but those 2 precincts are just a little bit. So I don't know if our goal is to put if we were to adopt this map and we wanted to put all of Vancouver within almost 2 districts, that seems like that would be a potential change, and it would be a way to get that district closer to the target.
We can
would actually probably push it above the target, but
I'm sorry.
Once
What was that last sentence?
Samal, did you say something?
No,
Sorry.
I was saying Morgan go. Morgan was still talking.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it would probably, if we made that change, and it's just something I was, looking at, I think it would probably push District 3 above the target, but it wouldn't be by, it would be I think 300 people or something like that.
We can take a look at that and redo the math and see where District 3 lands. And then I would assume that we would have to give, well, maybe we don't have to give nothing back to another district, but we can try that.
Well, and again, it's not necessarily, if we decide that it's important to put all of Vancouver into the same district, that would be the reason. But if we decide that's not important, then I don't know if we need to follow the line. I just was it looked like that's what we were trying, and you were trying with this, so I wanted to make that comment.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's Kamal, can I jump in here with alternative C now, or do you have another point? Right, I was with alternative C, I was looking at the same thing in terms of trying to extend it out to the extend Vancouver out to the eastern boundary. And then again, looking at just kind of looking at the RCW, looking for natural boundaries and trying to keep communities together. I think where to do that, well, let's see. Also, similar to Kamal, I moved some precincts up into District 5 here. Wait, maybe more. Yeah, that's right. There's the original, the initial, then there's Kamal's line, and so I moved even more up into District 5. But then, so to make things balance, I initially the District 3 was up here in Orchards, the Orchards area. Turning that off, district or alternative C really brings District 4 west and then District 2 east. So they meet here generally close to 117th Avenue. Yeah, there's 500 and yeah, 117th Avenue. Again, just to keep the population as close as possible among the districts. So that was the trade-off for alternative C, to extend Vancouver east, was to pull it down from the Orchards area and really just follow this pretty much follows the Vancouver boundary here.
Okay.
Paul, could you put the current 5 plan
Yes.
boundary up there?
So can we just get, I think, maybe a clarification from Paul? I just want to hear like super clearly, what was the philosophy on proposal B is to get as close as possible to the original 5 districts with a balanced population. And
Yes.
then C was your goal. What was the like guiding philosophy?
Right. So so again, B is trying to keep it as close as possible to what was on the ballot from the Charter Review Commission, as shown here. Again, there's the initial 5. So the northern boundary of District 3 is the same, and then just some adjustments up here, cover on the fairgrounds, and up here east of Battleground. So it's pretty close, just with some minor tweaks. On alternative C, I thought more about keeping communities together, as in really here the city of Vancouver, and also natural boundaries. I brought this down. Let's see. Yeah, I brought this down. There's Burnt Bridge Creek on this portion, and then, but that only goes so far. Here, let's see. Oh yeah, Minnehaha Street. I mean, I had to give up a little bit for population to equalize, but and then yeah, St. John's. But again, following the city of Vancouver boundary there. So I brought this down to the city of Vancouver boundary. Can you see this, the Vancouver in the tan?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So yeah, I'd have to say, I mean, you know, the workflow on doing this is you kind of start with a goal and then you try to make everything equalize. You know, it's kind of, as I mentioned before, it's kind of a domino effect. You make one change and you've got to, things have to trickle through with the other districts. So, you know, the first thing I did is move District 3 out east, and then tried to bring everything else in line. And again, keeping the community notion. I think I was on the RCWs. Right. To the extent feasible. Yeah, preserve existing communities.
So Paul, which of these plans you think results in the most compact areas?
Compact.
Probably C or B, or both are pretty compact.
Yeah, you know, shooting from the hip is probably B. In terms of rectangles, if you think of compactness as a measure of rectangles,
Yeah.
it's probably B. C gets a little squirrely, especially with all the jaggy. You know, I'll also mention, just in talking with, you know, I've also done some redistricting work with the port districts, and they want their lines straight. And but you know, we're especially here, we're needing to follow precincts. So you know, some of the squirrely nature of these boundaries is due to, you know, small annexations, such as here on this northern edge of City of Vancouver. Also, this, I mean, following this boundary is a little, you know, this is going to change over next 10 years, as annexations happen. So that's, you know, it looks good now, but you know, 5-8 years from now, someone's going to look at this. If this is adopted, you know, following this line, someone's going to look at it 8 years from now and think, what was going on there?
Oh, can you put layer A up? I'm sorry. Let's see how squirrely that looked.
I'll turn mine on. I'll turn C off.
That's not much better. Right? Square.
Yeah.
So yours, in essence, takes that upper north corner of Vancouver and just incorporates it back.
Which one? B or C?
Your C. And cuts in it moves.
So I have a question. Isn't District 1 and District 3 going to have the least population growth compared to 4 and 5? And I don't know about District 2. So that if you're going to start out with less populations in 1 and 3, isn't that going to be a problem over time?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought we had discussed that we weren't going to look at the future, we look at what's now. That's why we have to go back.
Yeah, Janet, that thought came to my mind as well, but I tried to kind of push it out of my mind because I don't think that's a criteria, at least not in the RCW, in terms of projecting growth or, you know, projecting growth forward. It's kind of a snapshot of 2020.
But even on District 3 and 1, isn't there a way to add a precinct or something like that just to equalize it out more?
Well, my thought, I mean, we're down in the hundreds here. I mean, all the, well, this is my opinion. Take it for what it's worth, but you know, among all the alternatives, you know, the variation is less than 1%. And that's pretty good in my judgment. So, I mean, we can certainly work further to reduce the variation, but you know, out of 500,000 people, you know, variations of 300 and 400, not too bad.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Or is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Greg, your idea is that we should go as close to what the voters voted on when they approved.
Well, I was just making some notes to myself right now on that sort of subject. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about, yeah, what the voters just recently enacted. I'm thinking about the compactness of the districts. I'm thinking of the community of interests, and I'm thinking about the natural boundaries. And Paul, if you put that RCW back up there again.
Yes. Is that big enough? Or is it?
And of course, you know, population. But yeah, certainly for myself, I'm thinking anything less than a 1% variance from target is, in my mind, really, really well done. I think that's very good. But but yeah, so when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the recent decision by the voters. I'm thinking about the compactness. I'm thinking about communities of interest. I'm thinking about natural boundaries. And I will put I will put a lot of put a lot of weighting on that first criteria. What do the voters just approve? And I think you don't go wrong by recognizing, acknowledging decisions of voters, especially when it just happened. Well, it's just going to get certified today, so it's happening today. Pretty recent. And then I think for me, I think probably community of interest is probably the second most important one after the voters' decisions. And then after that, maybe compactness or natural boundaries. I think that's how I'm thinking about it. And I'm not, when I think about compactness, I'm not bothered by little wiggly squares. I don't think you have to have a straight line. It's that the little jog boundaries, that doesn't concern me. What are others thinking?
An engineer, I like to get as close as possible to the target.
Yep.
If that's feasible, then that's the way to go. But that's just my thinking.
Well, close as possible. What is that, Juan?
A, so if we take A, and come on, I discussed this, if we move just another precinct up out of 3 into 5, then I said that, that above and below target gets down into the 100 instead of 600. And then you look at all the other districts, and that would be totally the closest you can ever possibly get.
Yeah.
So the population balance is the most important criteria for you, Juan?
Yeah.
And that precinct, I believe, is it would be precinct 612. And it would actually be going from 5 to 3. So
Is it this area here?
yeah,
To the right of it.
To the right of that. Right at the yes, like right in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what street is that on? Let's see. 99th is the boundary street.
Maybe show precincts there, Paul.
Yeah.
So it's that one that kind of looks like Idaho.
It does.
Oh, 612, yeah.
612.
Yeah. So I think precinct 612 has about 832 people. Or I think it's active voters, and so that could be moved.
Well, you're going to have a really odd, if you just move, well,
Yeah, no.
yeah, that's going to be an odd looking boundary.
Not harder than others we've seen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
How many are in 629? Just looking at how you have a squiggly.
Where is that at, Janet?
It's just below the green straight line we were looking at. It's over to the right. It's just that.
This one over here?
Yeah, it's just a cutout. So if you're trying to make districts look a little bit better.
I mean,
It's a
I
different
guess if we
map
look at
now.
3 and 5, they're basically a net 0. So that would be okay. Just if we wanted to get the numbers down.
Which one is the Paul, which one is the green line right now?
The green.
The initial?
That is the initial. The initial.
Okay. The 629 wouldn't make sense with proposal A. That'd be like a
How
little.
many people are in 569?
Can you pull up 569, Paul?
Where
Right next to 623, right above, yeah,
are
right
they? Over
In
here?
between 612 and 6.
there you go.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I don't, let's see.
On the web map, it says 2,416 people.
Wow, okay.
Probably why we didn't look at it, because
Yeah,
So that's going to make it way off the variance.
yeah. I'm gonna move something around here briefly. Oh, yes. Oops. Copy. Yes, so the 569?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2,400 people, yeah, as mentioned.
so like I said, I mean, we don't have to do that with 612. I guess, negative 639 and positive 651 is basically a wash. So.
Yeah. I think giving District 5 just a little bit more is, I'm in favor of that because it's more rural,
Can you explain that a little more? What your reasoning is on why the rural would be better to have it over?
It may take District 5, and this is just my opinion. It could take District 5 a little bit more longer to grow than the other districts. That was my only thinking there. And it's not that much, really.
Oh no, I mean we're not talking about very much. I just wanted to hear your explanation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, District 5 is the fastest growing area in the county.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ridgefield is going crazy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's astounding how the growth, the
Okay.
departments are, yeah, trying to scramble to keep up.
That's right. I forgot about Ridgefield. Okay.
Oh,
Well, Morgan, when you're thinking about these criteria, the recently enacted voter approved model, the compactness, community of interest, natural boundaries, and the population balance, what are you thinking about?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think our goal is to try to get all of those as close as we can. I think I would be comfortable with any of these maps. I think in terms of the population variance, I don't think there's a ton of variance between the maps in that regard. Like, you know, proposal A is really good for the population variance, and it seems like it's got pretty compact districts in terms of following natural lines for the most part. But I think, it's like we're still only talking about one district with a difference of over 500 people, at least, and so that's not bad. I will say, it's like I don't know if we've defined communities of interest super well. So it's like what we have to go off of is just the city map, or what we know of these communities, just as residents. And so I don't know necessarily how we would evaluate if we're doing a good job in that area or not. So I don't know if that would be a top priority. it's like if something seemed really off, I would obviously not want to, but I don't think we want to necessarily say like, I don't know if we have a way of judging these 3 proposals against each other in terms of communities of interest.
Just the city line street.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's good that we're not trying to, split battleground down the middle or something like that. And
Yeah.
Vancouver's too big to not split.
Yeah. When I
But-
mentioned community of interest, I was thinking about the city of Vancouver. But yeah, it's a fair point of. I mean, I agree with everything you said, Morgan.
I like just being, a woman who likes to look at like decorating or whatever else. This map looks way more compact and more on its face looks fair, than the other weird squiggles. I realize the city lines are squiggly, but this just looks better. I think it would hold up better if anybody challenged it.
For me, it's we got 2 things in, let's say, map A that we're meeting instead of just the one. Keeping the city together, we're balancing even closer to the target. We're not really not playing with demographics.
Well, here we are. Is there, the next step in this process is for this committee to adopt a draft plan to present to the public at a public meeting for the public to comment on. Are we at a point where someone wants to make a motion to adopt one of these plans as a draft plan? Morgan, would you like to do that?
Well,
or anyone else? I mean,
no, I guess my question would be, do we not want to tinker at all? So I think we've had a discussion about this for a while. We obviously have to get off the call in a few minutes, but we did set up a meeting for next Monday. And so yeah, you're right.
Well, I would rather wait because I have to fast. I kept looking for the maps in an email and I never got to see the maps before today.
Okay.
So I'd rather have some time to play with it a little bit more and just get a better idea of it.
Did you not get the emails? Or
I only got one email that had a precinct list. I didn't get any other email that had anything about the different lines. I didn't get any of those. I kept looking on both my phone and on my computer.
but you've received emails in the past.
Yes,
Oh, and you got the one from the precinct list.
yes. But I didn't get anything else from Paul.
Did you check your spam or anything like that? I'll check.
You know what? I'm going to give you a second email address to send
Sure.
stuff to, Paul,
Okay.
because sometimes I have trouble with Comcast and it's the same thing, janet.landisberg@yahoo.com. I can check that, but I didn't see any of it and I kept looking.
Okay.
Well, we can definitely try to get those to you again then, Janet. Well, and that's all I said was, the next step in this process is for this committee to adopt a plan. But yeah, we can absolutely, defer that decision until later. We don't have to make the decision today, but we are.
And I have one other question, just from somewhat listening to different people. Is it possible to go forward to the county with 2 plans and have a town hall and see what people think about them?
I asked it, Janet. I asked that the last time we were on. I think no, Janet wasn't on. You weren't on.
Yeah, I was on last time.
You were okay. All right. I think I asked that.
So the charter directs this committee to adopt a plan to present to the public, and then take into consideration comments from the public, and then to submit a plan to the council. It does not envision this committee putting forward 2 plans to the council.
Okay.
Because the council's only role is to adopt the plan and then to possibly amend it with to a minor degree, 2% or something. It doesn't speak to what would happen if the council rejects the plan. It doesn't speak to what happens if this committee is unable to agree on a plan. So.
And it is in my spam, in my junk, some of it.
Okay. Thank you for checking.
Spam.
Well, so we're meeting, I guess, hearing no objections or hearing no motions to adopt the plan. I guess we'll continue on to the next meeting on the, what are we doing that, on the
29th.
29th.
Okay.
Next Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Other discussions or comments on the redistricting master's presentation?
And did I hear something about tweaks to any of the plans or alternatives?
Yeah, I guess right now, does somebody want to make a specific request to Paul to do something to one or more of these plans, the current 3 plans?
Well, I guess I would ask if we're going to try on one of these to have a plan that follows the City of Vancouver boundary. Is it possible to have it? I think it's on Plan 3 to follow the complete boundary, to include all of the City of Vancouver. Then.
Well, that's somewhat.
Not the whole. Just
well,
on the eastern border,
uh-huh.
it's just that was what I was talking about at the beginning. There's a couple of precincts that are actually Vancouver that are not included, that are included in District 4 instead. I think it's.
Yeah, I think it's these areas.
Mm-hmm.
On alternative C, I left this out because it put me over. It put
Okay.
Put it over the goal.
So okay.
Yeah, I think it was this precinct right here is right.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. I just was one. It's like if that's a goal we had, it just seems like potentially something we could.
And here I was trying to follow a natural boundary. I mean, I guess
No, that's totally reasonable to say 192nd is a natural boundary there. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. No.
This is not an exercise in, the law says, shall and attempt to. It doesn't say, have to get to perfection. So
it's nearly equal in population as possible.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
So yeah, that's. Well, I would, given the time, I would just invite if anybody needs to see a tweak or a precinct adjusted, certainly send me an email. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, anything for the good of the order then?
Mhm.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see each other next Monday, the 29th. Hope everyone have a nice Thanksgiving holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you all.
pleasure to be with you guys.
And again, let's
Thank you, Paul.
a big round of applause and appreciation for Paul for working so hard over this past weekend.
Excellent, Paul. Excellent.
People,
You're very welcome.
people think government bureaucrats don't work hard, but they do. I'm here to tell you they do. So,
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Very well. You're very welcome.
Right.
Bye.
Right. Later. Bye-bye.